this event formally opened by the chairman of this occasion, the political scientist and the criminologist. No other person than Professor Alemika. Please let's put our hands together for the opening.
I think the time is far gone so that we can reduce the protocol. Of course, I won't pass the protocol test, so I won't attempt the examination. I think we're here for a very important event today. 2 years ago, I think 2 years ago was my first encounter here, a very pleasant encounter. Professor Sule called and said, we think we have terrorism problem in the country, can you give us a talk on terrorism? And we came here, we gathered, I met Commodore Kumola was also here with his usual brilliant presentation, and I think we did have a very good time. I'm not sure when we gathered 2 years ago, people probably have been praying that by now we'll not be talking about terrorism. Unfortunately, I think we're still talking about it. Many of us were not surprised. I think I actually said that we won't be out of terrorism for 5 years then. And a lot of people in their mind will have said it's not their portion, given that is the latest statement in Nigeria. I'm still very sure. We pray that the tempo, we can address it, but the incidents related to it will not be over in another 5 years. I say this specifically because it's related to trauma. We are a nation of events. We're a nation of events. We're not a proactive nation, and we're also not a recovery nation. We are only an event, and it pervades all our life. A person has an event in 9 months' time. He announces it to all his friends that I'm going to do this thing in 9 months' time. But I bet you it's not going to prepare until 2 weeks before the event. Because for us, it's an event. Once the event is concluded, there will be nobody around to remove the chairs because the event is gone. And unfortunately, this has been the problem why we have not developed. We never plan ahead. We never sustain even what we've learned from experience. I think it's to the credit of the group that had started this for 9 years now. After the first event, at least they look forward to the next event. I don't know what they did in the middle of the events, but at least they kept us having the event for 9 times. So I think this is a very great opportunity for us to come together. There are things you cannot avoid. And by my training, when you say it, you look odd. Somebody came to my church and preached and said the demon of late marriage is in Nigeria. And after the event, I went to him and said, sir, I think you got your theology wrong. And he said, well, I said, you see, theology also has a societal developmental component. As women become educated, involved in labor force, it is demonstrated that marriage age will be deferred. And there is no demon in the air. It is actually a change in the level of knowledge and in the level of decision making. And then said the next step you have, I don't know what to call it, is that women will decide whether they want to marry at all. So it's not even a question of whether it's delayed now. It's a question whether they will marry at all. The man looked at me and said, who is this devil who still comes to church? Well, my pastor looked at me and told him, I said, well, I don't think it's a devil. We've lived with him for a long time. I think we know where he's coming from. So I think we're a nation that cannot just be deceiving ourselves. We live in denial. Every developed nation also must necessarily produce its own hazards. If you have nuclear energy to power your generator, to power your power sector, expect nuclear accident. So I think it's something you've got into that I think is one of the proactive measures for our country, and I do hope it's sustained. Let me just then close again by thanking the people here. Anytime I'm invited, and unfortunately for one of them I get invited too often. The medical people, I don't have problem with them. I rarely get invited by them. The other one are the lawyers. And I don't know, they are so infatuated with suit. And I look, oh, this morning I had to go and literally borrow this. Because I thought the best dress to wear is a shirt and move on with your life. And where you now have, I remember I wore these twice, and I was compelled to wear one once. The other time I think I was confused. I think August 29, 1981, I saw a lady said she must wear a mosquito net, and I need to wear these beside her, otherwise I will not marry. So I was compelled to do that, wearing this cockroach dress, and somebody wearing mosquito net. I was compelled on that occasion. The second one was August, May 20, 1985. I think I was confused. I was going to wear a doctoral gown, and I wasn't sure whether it fit on the shirt. In any case, I walked into one of the local markets in Philadelphia, and it was cheap, so I bought one and put it. It was very useful because after that, I brought it back. One thing I love with Professor Sule's dress is a very good organizer. If you put a suit somewhere, you have one for your travel passport, you have one for receipt, and you are never confused. You are never confused. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they come here in an intimidating set of suits that I won't be intimidated because I have a political scientist by my side. So I think it's great. I must also recognize when we were young and we just came and somehow rascally, we looked up to people like, he wasn't quite a gentleman doctor, Dr. Beniti. He had his way on the campus. And I think for many medical students, medical practitioners here, he's not just a teacher, I think he's a grand teacher. To many of them, if you look at the time I'm talking about, over 3 decades ago, when I walked in here 2 years ago and I saw him, it was like a mystery. I said, you mean you still will come this way? He said, well, home is home. You are welcome back home. And when I saw him this morning, I thought you've left. He said, no. I said, home is home. So I think we need to recognize people who have contributed to make a difference. The person I always remember is the first dean of the school. Each time I run into him, I don't know what to do, whether to run away. Again, like I said, as an assistant lecturer, we were on strike in 1981, and he came back with this essentialism of medical school that cannot be closed down. And I asked him to sit down. He asked me to meet him. And the man just looked at me and said, young man, you will understand. So each time I see him, I said, sir, you remember that? I remember a young man. I think you understand now. I said, I don't quite understand, but I respected and still respect the way that you didn't clobber me that day. Again, I think this faculty, this medical school has produced gentle people, and I also need to be recognized. Before, XX, they still have residual power. Before the ex-DVC, he said he's now ex-DVC, clobber me from behind. I want to thank you and also ask that we ask God, which we've done, to bless this occasion that we come together, and that of course this will be not just an event, but indeed a tradition. Thank you.
I'm Alhaji Sani Moody, the former deputy chairman just now, and is representing the Muslim community here. We're glad to have you here, sir. Thank you. He is representing the Federal Road Safety Corps. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for coming. Introductions for our teachers, and I realized that it will only be appropriate to recognize, since this is about mostly organized by the Department of Surgery, it's only appropriate that we recognize the head of department of surgery, Jos University Teaching Hospital. And I'm talking about no other person than Professor L.B. Jordan. Thank you, sir. Also, I want to recognize a soft-natured teacher. This man exemplifies hard work. I remembered while I was in his unit, we were in theater one day, and when it was like 10 p.m., and everybody was like, Prof, how could we? And he was like, no, the patient must benefit. I'm talking about no other person than Professor Sule. He's this course coordinator. We're happy to have you here, sir. who is the Chief Medical Director of this great institution, and he's Kashima. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I would have loved to say that I've not seen the protocol, or I would love to stand on it. But since I did not see the protocol, I will try. The chairman of the occasion, my great teachers, the guest lecturer, the Commissioner for Health, Plateau State, ably represented. Certainly, not that I'm breaking the protocol because I didn't see it, but certainly need to acknowledge my chief supervisor, the Vice Chancellor, who is also ably represented here. And my seniors, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the chairman, management board of Jos University Teaching Hospital, led by Professor Emmanuel Ame, and the chief medical director, Professor Edmund Bawat. Both of them earnestly would have loved to be here, but this meeting coincided with the board meeting, and it's right going on with a very strategic meeting that is going on, and so they say that I should greet you all and present to you that they will not be able to be here physically, but certainly their goodwill and their spirit is here with all of us. I welcome you all on their behalf. And not only them, even people from the Federal Ministry of Health are at the board meeting. And so they also send their greetings and welcome you. Well, we have been inviting all of you to this institution for the past 9 years. And we pray that we will have not had need to invite you again. But the way things are happening in our country, as the chairman says, probably he thought of 5 years. Some of us wonder whether the prediction of 5 years will be a reality. Trauma has now become an epidemic. When I was growing up, measles was the epidemic. It wiped a lot of children. Some of us that survived ended up with the consequence of it. And my eyes survived, my ears did not. So I had to get surgery for my ears from the effect of measles. But trauma is the current epidemic. Last week, we knew what happened. Right now, as I'm talking, I just got a text that our security people are battling with Damaturu. It's on fire. And you just know what the caregivers will be going through in Damaturu right now. And we don't know where next. So this, in the past, anything about trauma will have been taken lightly, but not now, because it has come to be part of us, and we have to work towards overcoming it, first, psychologically, emotionally, and physically. how we will survive this. And so I appreciate the work that the surgical department and the coordinators of this program, and in collaboration with the West African Medical College, Postgraduate Medical College is doing, so that more and more of us will be able to attend to trauma with some level of confidence and competence, because that is the whole need of it. The level of confidence that we attend to it, and the level of competence that we will more and more will survive and get out of the hospital. Even if it's not 100%, but more will be able to get out. And the more we do this, the more we will get support, goodwill, physical, financial, and even spiritual support, so that we will be able to cope with this epidemic. Somebody wrote an article, said, why Ebola is so deadly is because it overwhelms the immune system in the body, and so the body, in the process of fighting Ebola, fights itself. I hope trauma, the epidemic of trauma, will not take us to the point whereby, in the process of contending the terrorism and all the agents of trauma, we will now start consuming ourselves because of being overwhelmed with agents and causes of trauma. It is our prayer that you will find the trauma course session this year very, very rewarding, very educating, and also certainly go back better equipped at any given time, whether we're waking up from our sleep or stop by the roadside to attend to trauma. We will do it with all the confidence and competence required. For those who are coming out of JOS, well, JOS is quite a serene place, despite all what is happening in the country. I came back with the chairman on Saturday from Lagos. People were teasing me where I went, that, oh, we didn't search your bag. Probably you have some bomb in the bag. I said, well, I wonder why I shook hands with you, because I thought I would have picked Ebola by shaking you in Lagos. Okay, but every part of us are just is serene, and it's truly a center for peace and tourism. And certainly, if you have time to stay, you are very much welcome. Again, on behalf of the board, management, and staff of Jos University Teaching Hospital, we welcome you all to this 2014 trauma session course. Thank you.
For that welcome address. I want to recognize the presence of the enemy chairman, Plateau State. He's ably represented by the immediate past president of the Association of Resident Doctors. I'm talking about Dr. Daniel Meshach. Thank you, we're happy to have you here, sir. Sure. But before we do that, it will only be appropriate to listen to some information about who this well-read gentleman is. And I'm privileged to invite my teacher. We love him, the students love him, and he's going to read the citation of our own guest lecturer. Let's put our hands together to invite Dr. Ozilo for the presentation of the citation.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The chairman said he would fail a protocol test. I think I'll get F9 too, so permit me to stand on the existing protocol. Sorry, Dr. Zoilo, for that little bit of mix-up. The time is well spent, and I'm sure the chairman will allow me to stand on existing protocol. The representative of the Chief Medical Director said he has not seen one, but since he did establish one, I think I will stand on that one. I consider it a great honor and indeed a privilege that another opportunity has again offered itself for me to welcome you on behalf of the local organizing committee to this historic assembly that marks the beginning of another week-long trauma management course, the 9th in the series to be held in this institution. In the past 9 years, there has been a geometric increase in the number of casualties and incidences that has led to severe injuries. Nigeria at this point in its history is at a dreadful precipice as insurgency grows in strength and sophistication and is becoming quite ominous for Nigeria. It indeed has the potential to destabilize the country to the point of a state failure and possible disintegration. These terrorist activities, in its evolution and high-speed travels, produces strange spectrum of injuries that are alien to both the regular physician and civilian and military surgeons. A regular meeting, therefore, of this nature is of utmost necessity to update knowledge of the emergent management of these strange injuries. An increasingly violent insurgency has begun to pressure the Nigerian finances by forcing extra spending on security. It diverts money away from the needed infrastructure spending and could be costing as much as 2% of the country's economic output. On the strength of this knowledge, once again, and as repeatedly before, we are gathered to listen to a distinguished personality who has excelled in his chosen field of endeavor. He will, as a political scientist and economist, be discussing his perspective on global and domestic dimensions of terrorism and its effect on Nigeria's economy. Esteemed audience, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish you an intellectual delight as we listen to Professor Gabriel Sam Egwu. Enjoy the friendly weather of Plateau State and indeed the hospitality of Plateau State. Thank you and God bless you.
Please, we would want to ask that since we're approaching the keynote lecture, we have empty seats in front here. There are people who are standing behind. You could please just drift forward.
Gentlemen, our guest speaker today was born about 63 years ago in Abocho, Dekina local government area of Kogi State. He graduated with a second-class upper degree in political science from Ahmadu Bello University, Samaru, Zaria in 1982. He holds the MSc degree and PhD in political economy and development studies of the University of Jos. He has spent over 29 years teaching in teaching and research, rising through the ranks to the position of Professor of Political Economy and Development Studies in 2003. He is a passionate and committed academic, civil society activist, and development worker with substantive focus on issues of governance, electoral democracy, conflict mitigation, peace building, and conflict transformation for over 28 years. He is comfortable working in the context of cultural and gender diversities and is well grounded in the nexus between government and conflict. In recent times, from March 2005, he has served in the position of governance and peace building, team leader, governance advisor, UNDP Nigeria Country Office, contributing, among others, substantially to the implementation of the UNDP Managed Democratic Governance for Development project, and anchored on two key pillars: electoral circle approach and the deepening of democracy. He has won a number of international fellowships in the course of his academic career, providing testimony to the hard work and diligence brought to bear in his chosen career. These include the West African Research Fellowship, Program of African Studios, Northwestern University, Illinois, Chicago, Research Fellow, Center for Advanced Social Science, Port Harcourt, and Guest Researcher, Nordic African Institute, Uppsala, Sweden, in 1997. He's a member of professional bodies, and these include the Nigerian Political Science Association, of which was president between 2008 and 2010, Association of Political Science, APS, Social Science Academy of Nigeria, ASA, and the International Political Science Association. He was at different times member of the National Universities Commission, visitation panels, technical implementation committees of Kogi State, Salem, and Greenbelt universities. He has contributed immensely to chapters in books and co-edited books. He has published several publications in local and international peer-reviewed journals. He's attended several workshops and conferences, both locally and internationally. He is deeply involved in community service. Because of his excellent analytical skills, great writing and communication skills, and interpersonal skills, he is often called upon to speak on different topical issues. The most recent being politics of healthcare in Nigeria, democratization and the challenge of military disengagement in Nigeria, the role of civil society in combating terrorism,